Alright, guys, welcome back to the podcast, day 17, first day of March. Today we're starting on a new chapter, but it's pages 52, which is the end of the previous one, and then 53, the new chapter, and then just those pages into the new chapter, 53 and 54. So this chapter's title is called Come Home to a Relationship with the Universe. And there's a graphic on the left side page 52, the end of the previous chapter, but I think it kind of has to do with this current chapter. And there's basically two pictures, like one says what you expect from the universe, and it just has a little picture hanging on the wall of a little house with a little animal outside on the grass. And then it has another picture hanging on a wall next to it, and it says what you get from the universe. So it's what you expect from the universe, just a nice picture, and then what you get from the universe is just scribbled all over the place, including on the walls, not even like completely in the frame. And it says, there's a little arrow pointing saying the universe doesn't give a care about your walls. And then the chapter goes into starting to talk about, how life can be perceived as unfair at certain times. Things not going our way at different stages of life, like not getting a certain toy, or if there's relationship problems in the family, or even all the way up to high school, failing a class in your senior year, and kind of like the thought processes that go along, like when you're young in second grade and your parents didn't get you a certain popular kind of toy. There might be some anger there about like why they didn't do that, and that kind of thing. And so just the things that come up in life that can't really be fully stopped necessarily. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, if it can't really be stopped, like just the perspective sometimes I think is the key. Because if you look at a story like a second grader, like the example Lily Singh gave, a second grader trying to get wanting to get a popular toy that maybe everybody has at school, and their parents don't want to get it for them. It's not like a kid in second grade really has a lot of opportunities to go out and like make their own money and then go transport themselves to the toy store, or even make an Amazon account and then order or go purchase their own item and come back. Like, they're so young. So at that age, it's like there really aren't that many options. If your parents aren't going to buy it for you, or some other older person, you're likely not going to get that thing that you want. So your options are pretty limited too. So it could make sense why, kids get so, upset with their folks or whoever when they don't get what they want, because nobody else can really do that for them for the most part. Like, most people don't have like a bunch of people buying them a whole bunch of stuff all the time. And then I guess the other example she gave was 8th grade, parents getting divorced and feeling like the world isn't fair. And yeah, people unfortunately have painful experiences that come up. And then she talked about in 12th grade, if somebody fails their history class, um, then they might think, oh, I'm never going to get a decent job. And it's like, that's kind of what stuck out to me, because it's like, I remember how I used to think in high school. Like, I thought, like, I didn't really know. Nobody's going to really check, you know, um, too much of your, like, you can still have a good GPA, or, you know, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I think I had to repeat, I think I repeated one semester of one class. So I think it was the second semester of my junior or senior year algebra 2. But it was mostly based on a misunderstanding. I wasn't doing like super, super good in the class, probably teetering between like a B minus C plus level. But I left town on an annual mission trip to Mexico for 10 days, and I had to get permission from all my teachers. And I think the mistake was maybe on me, or maybe just a misunderstanding, but basically the teachers had to write down the assignments that were going to be due, and then sign and put the information of like that they approved me to turn in those assignments at a later date. And I think I had 6 classes or something. I don't know. Maybe this was my junior year. I don't know. I think I had 6 classes, but I could be wrong. But this was the second semester of my junior year, which was my first year at that school. And then I basically came back from the trip, and I found out that, you know, all my assignments, you know, I had like a week or something to turn them in for every class, because it was every class I was going to be missing every day for like multiple days, like over a week. And I turned in all those, like, I don't remember what classes I was taking. Like, I know I had English, I know I think I had Chem, I don't remember. I don't remember what I was taking. U.S. history, world history. I don't remember exactly. Those are the ones that specifically stick out. And then like algebra 2. I did good the first semester, and then the second semester I did pretty good, but I had basically a week's worth of assignments, including probably an exam that I was supposed to take before I left and turn in everything before I left. That was the one teacher that didn't approve me to do it later. She wanted it in earlier, and I either overlooked that or misunderstood that, or just didn't look at the details and just went on assuming, you know, or believing or thinking, you know, I just wasn't paying attention to the details, I guess. And when I went a week later after I got back, and then I had like a whole week to do all these other assignments, and so I did all those assignments, including, and expected to take the exams I had missed and everything. So I come back, turn in the paperwork, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna take this." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "No, I'm not gonna take any of your work, because it's like, at that point it's like almost 2 weeks late. It's like, you know, something like that." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, I wanted you to turn it in like before or whatever." I don't remember if there was like a conversation, but I know that I did go to turn in the work, and then she rejected it, and I had missed an exam, and I couldn't take that. I just don't remember the whole conversation. It's not very significant, but I remember when I got my grade, I got like a D, or maybe it was a C minus. I don't know what I got, but I got a grade low enough that I had to retake the class. And then when I retook the class, I think it was the first semester of my senior year, I had to retake the second semester of algebra 2. And when I was taking the class, you know, it was all the people who had failed the class. So we were all seniors. Our first, you know, in our senior year, it was the beginning of our senior year. and we sat in groups, like desk groups of like fours, so we could all kind of help each other. And I remember helping everybody at the desk and explaining everything to everyone, and always, not always getting things right, but I got things right often. And even the teacher was like, "Why are you even in this class?" And I was like, "Well, because I knew what I was doing in the class, but my grades weren't like super high. Like with math, I just never really had like the accuracy. It wasn't that I wasn't understanding the concepts or like how to do the math. It was more so getting the right answer or making mistakes along the way to get to an answer that was accurate. Um, that was my weakness in math, and so I knew how to do the math. I knew how to do all of the Algebra 2 math because I went through the whole class. They didn't kick me out of the class, so I went through the whole class and learned it still. Just I was missing like a week's worth of assignments plus an exam, and so I didn't pass the class because I wasn't getting like a really strong A or something and then missed a whole bunch of stuff and then dropped down to a B or C. Like I think it dropped me down like a letter grade, and this was probably near April because I feel like we used to go near April to Mexico, so I think it was near April. And our semester usually ended, or our school year usually ended in like June, um, like before mid June. So yeah, um, that was my experience basically with failing a class. Um, I haven't failed that many classes, but I don't think that ever impacted me. I still got into UCI, I still got into grad school. I don't think anybody really looked at my, you know, transcripts and was like, oh, like this person is terrible. Um, my GPA's always been pretty solid. Like even through grad school, it was pretty solid. Like I usually had at least like a 3.0 ish, like approximately. Sometimes a little higher. I think in grad school that was the first time it dipped a little bit lower to like a 2.99 or something like that, or 2.98. But it still rounded to a 3.0, so I don't know. But yeah, like I think that's like the main experience that I've had with failing a class, and I did think it was going to impact me more. I guess maybe for some people they get impacted more, but basically I didn't get straight into UCI after high school. I went to community college for, I think I was there for 3 years because I wanted to get into a UC. So I had, at least at this time, this is like ages ago, guys. So this was like in 2003 when I started, or 2002, I started classes. I think I actually took college algebra the year before my senior year. So that summer, I think I took one college class in algebra. So regardless of what I would have gotten in high school, because I don't think they waived it, I would have been able to start um, past algebra. I think I started in trig in college, but it wasn't my first year. But anyways, yeah, I did 3 years at community college. Stayed a little longer to finish the IGETC classes, and basically passed, did well. Um, yeah, passed my classes, and um, yeah, that's all I really had to focus on was passing the classes, and I did a good job doing that. And so I didn't really have to think too much otherwise. Um, but at the time, I was like, yeah, I think this is going to affect me so much. And it didn't affect me um, at all, I don't think. And yeah, I did fine at community college, got into one of the schools I wanted, and just went from there, got my bachelor's, started studying for the GRE, took the exams I needed, and did all the, kind of work I needed for certain classes to get projects and experience to be able to apply, to grad schools, and, was involved in some research projects and things like that, working for pay, and had a job on the side too, and, did some stuff in different labs, and I did really good, got good recommendations. I just kind of put my head down for like 2 years and just like studied really hard, and yeah, it was fine. Things went good. Um, like it wasn't easy, but you know, things went good, and so yeah, I could see how back then I didn't know how if there was a mistake here or there, if there was like a way around it or what. Like I don't think anybody was like caring about my high school transcripts by the time I was applying for a bachelor's program. Like that was already gone, and I'd already passed that and proven that I could do well. Even in math, I think I took up to calculus 1. I think that's all I took in community college. Was I took a bunch of stats, and like throughout all of college, and then just like one. Yeah, I took trig, and I took calculus 1. I don't remember. I don't think I took calculus 2. If I did, I don't remember at all. But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of, like I would say when it comes to things not going well, a lot of times perspective is the key. And I'm not gonna say that there aren't tragedies. There are definitely tragedies and definitely hard times. Like I've had a friend that has had a lot of hard times lately with deaths, of loved ones, and physical injuries, and a lot of financial stuff, and then just like all these like wild people coming up from all kinds of places, like workspaces or bosses or whatever. Like they've just had a lot of just negative things back to back to back for like a couple years, and for them to try to recover from that, it's hard, but they're doing what they can. And I think it's an important thing to look at, to see that people, none of us are like immune to all this kind of things that can happen, all the types of like situations. But I mean, not to discount the fact that it's going to be stressful. There's going to be fatigue, there's going to be depression, anxiety, just moods where the mood shifts. It's hard to be completely just glad about everything. But I think we've all also experienced those kind of days where you wake up and it's like you get up out of bed and you're like, today's just good, like today's just good. Like maybe you're doing something you want to do, or you're refreshed, and you wake up, you're good to go, you're ready to kind of start your day, get going, and you're just ready to roll. And when you look at the day, it's like maybe it's not a perfect day. Like you get ready to go to work and your tire's flat, and now you either got to change it or get a donut or get it patched and get some air or whatever it is. It might set you back a little bit in the morning. Um, if you're not leaving like super early, um, and have time to actually get there after getting it repaired. But you could have a car repair issue. You could have some other kind of issues. You accidentally lock your keys in the car, accidentally lock your wallet in the car, or accidentally leave your wallet at the gym and then have to go all the way back and get it, and you're like scared that maybe somebody stole your stuff, and maybe it works out and they didn't and you get it back, or maybe now you got to deal with that, or whatever. It could be something that's just like a common thing that can happen that's like, great, like this sucks. But sometimes, there's some days where we're not fazed by negative stuff. And there's some days where nothing negative even happens and you might just be feeling just like trash. And so, like, that's the reality. It's kind of weird, right? Like, it's not always like one to one. Like, just because bad things happen in the day, or um, just because unpreferred circumstances might occur, doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to impact us the same way. Like, just because I have, locked my keys in the car, or just because there's fraud on my bank account all of a sudden, or whatever, and then I'm like, oh, my bank is trying to, like, shut off my debit card now all of a sudden, and I'm trying to get, like, there's stuff happening all of a sudden. Some days that could be the last straw and you're just like about to lose it, and then other days you're just like, whatever, like, just do what you gotta do and like just roll with it, and it doesn't affect you hardly at all. And so that just goes to show, I think, that there is something to, the energy being on point. Like, when you're already rested, when you're not already in an overwhelmed state, when you're just, even the way you talk about the situation, where you're just like, okay, like, I'll just call my boss and tell him I'm going to be late, unfortunately, and it's not a big deal because I'm not late a lot, and they're pretty casual with me about stuff, and they understand that I work hard, and, this is okay, I'm not going to get in trouble, and, you can just casually handle stuff sometimes. Whereas other times it's like time to go into frantic mode because something bad happened, or something unpreferred happened. So it is kind of a complex thing. It's really not like a one-to-one. Like, if something unpreferred happens, then I'm going to be mad all the time. Like, that's not true. And so I think it is important to look at those times when bad things happen, or when unpreferred things happen, and it's like we don't have that attachment to it. Like, why? Because it seems like, to some extent, maybe it's like there's more options for you, or it's something within a comfort zone that you know how to deal with the problem, or there's not going to be any negative repercussions, and so you're just like, whatever, it's not really going to, like, I'm not going to miss the concert on Saturday because my car has problems on Wednesday. I still have options. I can rent a car, I can take a train, like, whatever. Like, it just might not hit you the same, and I think also practicing gratitude it can be hard to do. I know it sounds like one of those oversimplified kind of things, but sometimes that really just puts a perspective, just to be able to recognize, the self being grateful for certain situations. It's like, well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that, I was able to being grateful about having an experience where you feel good, You feel empowered. Um, you feel like you've got this, like you're able to problem solve and function still. But it can be hard. It can be really hard. But it doesn't have to be like the world's most difficult thing, it can also be relatively easy. So, sometimes it's just, focus, keeping focus on that kind of stuff. On the gratitude, on the perspective. I think another thing is that, just in reality, most of us, at least in the city or whatever, like a lot of us are usually kind of hustling a lot. So it's like, you know, like for me, this is the first time in a long time I've like really slowed down and like slowed down my lifestyle for some months, and I can't, like, just looking at how things were during December compared to now, it's like I could barely even function properly some days. Like the brain fog was like pretty intense some days to a point where the caffeine was useless. Like it wasn't doing that much for me. Trying to find times to exercise or just like the mindset to do it. Um, you know, what really kind of helped me was focusing on creativity. I was learning a lot from what's this dude called? Channel Higher. His channel is called Channel Higher Self. I think his name is Lincoln. And yeah, it's a little weird. His video content is a little out there, but the words are kind of useful a lot of the times. Like there's certain categories that I would skip, like the ones here how he says like you are God and that kind of stuff. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like I kind of see what he's saying with it, but it's also kind of like one of those concepts that I don't really know. Like it's way out of my league to be like, oh yeah, I understand what he's saying, because I don't. But yeah, the whole "you are God" thing is a little weird for me. Um, but all the other types of topics I think I like. Um, Basically, the whole concept of his channel is he says that he channels his higher self with a question or just to see what his higher self expresses to him, and then he's basically in this channeled state while he is talking online, recording himself talking, and you can hear kind of like the ideas that come up. Most of it's positive, different methods to like deal with different types of stuff, different ways of thinking to deal with different types of things. And that's kind of what I like. It's just like sometimes I just need a different perspective from not in my own head, like a kind of perspective that's like a positive perspective too. And that's on that channel, it tends to be positive. Like it's not like a whole negative thing. It's not like overwhelmingly negative or anything. It's not like when you watch the news and you're like, oh my gosh, we're all gonna die. Like it's not like that. It's very positive. And there's, I don't know what I think about these types of people who do these types of odd things. Like I wasn't raised in a way culturally where that kind of thing makes a lot of sense to me. I was always taught to stay away from it. So I don't really know, but I found benefit from it. Even like people like Sadhguru, he has a lot of content out there. And when he was talking to Joe Rogan, he had an episode, well, that episode of Joe Rogan's podcast with Sadhguru being interviewed on there. he was talking about, I think the part that kind of was making me a little more hesitant was, and just for myself, was just because he started talking about channeling, like, or connecting with alien forces. And then he said, they're probably not always, or at least the types that he's been in contact with aren't always with, like, the big heads and the big eyes and, like, the little stature and all that kind of stuff. Like, not looking like that, like the stereotypical alien look, but, you know, they can make people's temperatures rise or lower. I think he mentioned something about a bowl of water, how he put the water on somebody's head who was uh, who he was allowing this being to, like, enter that person's body or something. I don't remember. Like, I guess there was some consent involved where somebody was like, yes, let me be the person that has this experience, and then Sadhguru was the one responsible for getting, like, channeling and connecting to that entity, and connecting it into the person and having it do stuff. I think he mentioned putting a bowl of water on top of somebody's head, and then the temperature rising so high that the water was able to boil, or different things like that. And he says he doesn't really play with it too much because he doesn't want someone to die or get injured. And to me, I was like, okay, he's calling that alien life forms. To me, I mean, where I was raised, like, I'm just saying culture. I don't know what I'm talking about because, like, I don't know the universe like that. There's plenty of mysteries out there, and I'm not trying to judge people who believe in this kind of stuff. I'm just saying I was taught that was like a demon possession type of thing. Or if this other guy, Lincoln, is, like, channeling things, it's like maybe he's channeling negative spirits to get you off of the track or something like that. That's what I was taught. But, I do question things. I've got my eyes and ears open, and I'm not, like, too concerned. Like, so for example, I was also taught that meditation and yoga were evil or could open the doors to, satanic things coming into life, just because of the mind, not just because of that mindfulness aspect of, I guess they say your mind isn't supposed to be empty, because when your mind gets empty, anything can come in. And I never understood that. I never understood exactly that, and I'd like to understand it more. Um, but those are other parts of the universe that I don't know. I've been given an explanation of what they are, and then I've heard other people who practice them saying what they do, and they call it something else. They're not like, oh yeah, I'm demon possessed and I'm, possessing other people. Like, they're not saying that. And all the other stuff that they talk about does sound pretty wise and sound and, helpful. Not all of it, maybe, not all of it, 100%. I don't remember if it was Osho or Sadhguru, but I think it was Osho, who, I think, I could be wrong, it was Osho or Sadhguru, one of those kind of guys who had a connection, who had somebody ask them a question about, like, homosexuality or something like that, and they kind of, like, were laughing at it and seemed a little, like, prejudiced in it. And that was kind of what made me a little skeptical, where I'm like, maybe these guys don't really know everything, because there were some ideas out there that they threw out there that I was like, I don't know. But then also, I was raised in a religion that had plenty of ideas that I didn't agree with, or plenty of practices, traditional practices that I didn't agree with, or maybe some stuff in the books that I was like, okay, the way this is being interpreted is weird. But I think Also, I think Dolores Cannon was another one. Unfortunately, she's no longer living, but um, she has a lot of interesting content out there too. And it's controversial stuff. It's controversial stuff, but sometimes I just like listening to certain people and hearing what they have to say. And I've noticed like sometimes I get some ideas from what they say, and I'm like, this is interesting information. Um, I like what I'm hearing about this. I enjoyed the topic. I find it helpful, and all those people I mentioned are kind of like they have some kind of different connection with the universe. It seems like they all do some aspect of channeling some kind of information from somewhere. I don't know where they're getting it from uh, versus other people, but um, I just don't know. I'm not very well knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. But I like to learn about it. I like to learn about how other people see the world, how other people live life, how other people do things. Even if it might not be fully right for me all the time, I still like to see it because I feel it is important to know, and especially because I'm always interacting with others, I feel like it's super important to know, like what they think, what they would say, what they would do. Um, and I'm still playing with the ideas of like, what is demon possession, what is satanic rituals, and even the ideas of Satan and Lucifer and the devil and all that kind of stuff. Like, um, because that concept has even been kind of like skewed a little bit, and there is some question to like, is Lucifer Satan and all? Like, I'm not gonna go on a whole tangent about it, but it's like there's a lot of questions that I have about things that I'm just like, I was taught a certain way, and I have been able to branch out to other types of ideas and just pull bits and pieces. Like, I'm not like fully like doing all the stuff that they do or say or whatever, but I do find it helpful to kind of just hear them talk about positive types of topics and then just be like, oh, that is, a very positive outlook. Um, and I enjoy that. So, um, yeah, so I don't have too much to say. It's too much more to say about the universe stuff, but I would say, if it's a perspective thing and it's hard to get perspective, sometimes even things as easy as listening to affirmations is a helpful thing. Usually just listening to something is pretty helpful. Um, and I think just hearing other ideas that aren't our own recycled ideas that keep repeating themselves, sometimes it helps to just have a different outlook, and try to remember to find a way to get connected to that different outlook. And even if it's not an outlook that you fully believe in, even if you're just like, I'm going to look up one thing real quick, and even if you don't fully believe in it, you can still challenge it against kind of what you do believe, and why, and like go deep into it. So I think that's kind of what I like, is really the depth of things, like going into depth about certain stuff. Um, I find a lot of benefit in that, just taking time to like study different concepts and ideas about how I see the world or how I was taught about things, because some of those things just don't work for me. Some of them never did work for me. They don't resonate with me. I'm not aligned with those ways of thinking and doing things. Like, one example, one friend told me way back in like high school or something. He was like, I was making a point because I still had a problem with the church gossip kind of thing even way back then. And I was like, yeah, people gossip too much. And he's just like, because I remember saying I went to a different church that I liked more, because they don't like gossip all the time and stuff. And he was just like, well, that's how humans are. They just gossip. And I had that idea in my head for so long. I was like, maybe this is something that people just can't stop doing. Um, and then I was like, no, that can't be right. I think it takes a lot of work and effort to not do it, a lot of self discipline to not do it. I do find it hard, even though I despise gossip and hate it, I do find it hard. If I'm like around people who are gossiping about something, I kind of want to chime in sometimes and be like, oh, like, so and so, like, oh, remember when they ran us off the road into the cliff or whatever, or like whatever. And maybe there's like two or three people there that weren't experiencing that and they didn't know, and now they know that there was some weird, maybe fun but strange situation that happened. Like little things like that. Just to like, chime in about stuff. Like I try not to, but it's like, I can't say I never do. But I do feel bad about it. It's not something that I'm like proud of or happy about. I don't like it as I don't want it as part of my reputation or anything. But like, I wouldn't consider myself a gossip, but at the same time, I do know people who kind of know each other a little bit, and I would say I kind of catch up with a lot of them individually, but a lot of them don't really catch up with each other all the time, but we still know each other. And so every now and then we'll get together for like a little reunion or meetup or something every so often. And then I do find it a little difficult if people, you know, before those times, like outside of those times, ask me about like, okay, if I'm hanging out with Bob and they ask me about Jan or something like that, it's like, I don't mind just sharing good news or whatever, but it's like, I don't want people to think I'm like up in their business or whatever, or sharing their, secrets and all kinds of stuff all over the place. Like, I'm not really sharing things like that, but, I don't know, like, it is one of those things that I feel like, there's a lot of testing and people prodding, um, and it can be innocent, it can be completely innocent, and just all of a sudden change to like something completely like this is nobody's business, you know, um, and so it's kind of something that I'm learning to watch, especially since the last time we had a meetup and one of my friends kind of mentioned something in a weird way. They were like, oh, like, saying that I said a couple things that were like weird, like said it in a weird way, like said that one of my friends was married and like all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I never said that. But it's just like, it already puts a question where it's like, now this person thinks that I'm like running around talking crap about them when I'm not, and like, I don't want, I'm not saying they really think that, but I'm like, I don't want people to think that, because I'm not. And so that kind of thing can kind of get to me. um but yeah, like, I've had experiences where I'm like raised and socialized and spending time with people who are kind of doing things that I'm kind of not about, and it's not that much stuff, like usually just the social stuff. I like safe places, I like safe social environments. I don't like toxic environments where people are gossiping or backstabbing or just out of control. And so I try not to really deal with that kind of stuff, or be around it. Like, I don't care if people are obnoxious or whatever. If they can't keep things to themselves, then I don't really want to make a habit out of telling them stuff or letting them be around other people that I care about and having them spreading rumors all over. And so, yeah, like, that's kind of what I think about the universe. There's definitely mysteries out there, but I found it comfortable to get out of my. I found it helpful to get out of my comfort zone and out of what I was taught and raised in, to kind of branch out to other things and maybe not like fully understand them or fully be like, I'm another religion now or I'm another thing now. Like, just taking what works. Like, for example, like I've noticed things like Japanese people or, you know, people from India, like people who eat those types of diets, a lot of times, you know, they're, they have health benefits from that food. And so, because I live in an area where I can get Japanese food, I can get Indian food, I kind of like try to eat some of those cultural foods because it's healthy. It's healthier than McDonald's, it's healthier than some of the other stuff I might come across. Um, but it's healthy. Um, and I'm not Indian, I'm not Japanese, but, I like to reach into other cultures and pull stuff that I find to have, like, some kind of a benefit. So that's one thing I like. Another thing I like, yeah, I mean, it can be hard to be comfortable, though. It can be hard to have that comfort. And, I'm not here to make anybody get into a state where they feel guilty or weird about, like, something that they're doing or feeling wrong about it because it goes against, like, what they were taught. But, if you find something that works for you, I don't know, that's a decision to make, am I going to keep doing the thing that works for me even though I wasn't raised doing it or what. But as far as the universe, that's probably the thing that's helped me the most, is just kind of branching out. Let me talk about my day slash night last night. Oops, I'm clicking the wrong things. Let me see. I'm writing some stuff down. Alright, so yesterday I woke up around 6:50 a.m., had breakfast around, I don't know, I put 8:15 a.m. That's probably when I was cooking, but so I feel like it was closer to 9 when I was eating. Worked on some podcasts and writing until like 10:15 a.m. and then showered around 11:45 a.m. or so. I had lunch around noon. Around 1:45 p.m. I had about 100 milligrams worth of C4. It kicked in a little bit. I think I had some of that sativa CBD with a fourth of a hybrid edible around 2:45 p.m. Did yoga and stretching for like almost 50 minutes. Used this back massager for about 45 minutes. Later at night, I did some dancing for like an hour and 15 minutes. Took some melatonin at about 10:45 p.m. I think I took another edible, but I don't remember what time. It was probably around the dancing time. And that kind of helps me though, with dancing stuff, just to kind of get into it a little bit. Um, yeah, and I slept. I don't know what time. Maybe like 11:30 or so. I was pretty tired by the time I went to go to bed, so I went to sleep and slept really well. And that was yesterday. And then this morning, it's March 1st. I just woke up. I woke up late. I woke up around like 7 something. I woke up once during the night though. I guess, I don't know why. Bathroom, or maybe it was hot, or I don't know. But yeah. Um, I basically um, uh, did some of my to-dos. So I booked my hotel for Friday to Monday. I'm still trying to coordinate with somebody Monday, but they haven't responded. And I was like, I don't want to wait to book my stuff. So I booked the hotel. I booked the car rental. Talked to my insurance to make sure I'm covered for liability and collision. So this time I didn't actually buy the liability and collision through the rental, because that's what I usually do. But, the last time I rented a car, I was like, wait, I should be covered. And I was talking with my friend, and he's like, yeah, you should be covered. So I think I'm covered. Made sure that I have medical benefits, which I knew I had, but I haven't gotten the card yet. So there's that. Then basically just been recording podcasts. This might be my unhealthy day. I might go get McDonald's. I said I was going to get McDonald's because I didn't wake up and make breakfast at like 8, because I started recording this, and I've been having coffee. It's basically cacao with a little coffee, a little bit of a creamer, like a regular creamer, Coffee Mate, a little bit of MCT, C8 oil, that brain octane one, and a little bit of ghee. And so yeah, I've been enjoying, this morning so far. I slept good, but I think I'll feel better once I eat something. But yeah, that's about as far as I've gotten at the moment. I was writing this theory yesterday on relationships. I'm probably going to continue that today. But yeah, I'll see if I post it or not. But alright, for now, that's it. Happy month of March. Happy day 17. Have a good day.